Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Okay, so welcome back. We'll continue our discussion on the plastic waste management rules that we have been doing for last two module. So this is a new rule which just came out last year. So things are still being evolved in terms of in India, like how to implement the rule. There have been certain bans in India, which you are probably aware. We talked about that in the class as well. So let's discuss some more aspect of that rule which we have been doing. So again, just to recap, in this particular week, this is the third video of the week. So we are kind of the middle of that particular for the third week of this course. So here we are looking at plastic waste management rules of India, which is 2016 rules, and then we also will try to compare and contrast with global rules and regulation. So you saw some of the responsibilities of different stakeholder of the rule in the previous video. So with continuing with the same discussion, if you look at what we have tried to do in these slides is try to highlight kind of these slides are a summary of that rule document, which is available as a reading material for this week, and I showed you in one of the slides, I showed you the front page of that rule as well. So you can download it from Google, but to make it kind of as part of the reading material, we are also putting a copy of the rule on the web for you to read. So in terms of here, if you look at we have you may have seen in the previous slides as well, what we have tried to do is we have put some rule number, and these numbers corresponds to the number which is there in the rule document as the Government of India document. So this is the as per when we say as per rule 8, so this is refers to the rule number 8 of that particular document. So that's what that means. So you should not get confused with that, and this is just the number referring to that rule in the document, so that when you take this slide and keep the document side by side, try to understand the rule, this will help you. This is kind of a summary of as I said, from that solid waste management rules, plastic waste management rules. So in terms of the generator means what? The people who are generating the waste, the people. So in this case, it is the personnel who are generating plastic waste, and that includes pretty much everyone. So because each one of us on this planet, I can say, and we are talking about in India, so each one of us in the country is somehow producing plastic waste, whether you buy a small wrapper, you buy say product which is wrapped with plastic, you use single use plastic, so or you used anything that you use which has plastic, when you throw it away, when you put it in the dustbin, so you're producing a plastic waste. So every person responsible for organizing every person who is responsible for organizing an event in an open space, if somebody is organizing an event in an open space which involves service of food stuff in plastic or multi-layered plastic packaging, sell, segregate and manage the waste during the such event. So if you are organizing an event where the plastic is part of that particular event, in the way that you are giving some food item which is wrapped in plastic, or it could be in multi-layer packaging. So as a organizer of that particular event, you are responsible to segregate the waste and manage the waste during such event. So if you compare this with the solid waste management rules 2016, that also says the same thing. So if you are organizing an event, you have to do the wet and dry separation. So similar concept has been extended in plastic waste management rules, where they are looking at segregating and managing the waste during such event. So and what are some of the other stuff here, like a waste waste generators during waste generators shall minimize generation of plastic waste. So, the waste the whoever is the people who are generating the waste shall try to minimize the generation of plastic waste and segregate. And so, there is a lot of focus on segregation. So, a lot of focus is on segregation, not litter plastic waste. So, littering and hand over segregated plastic waste to local bodies. So, that is what the rule says. So, in terms of plastic waste management rules, we are kind of going a step ahead than solid waste management rules. Solid waste management rule says wet and dry. Here we are talking about you have to do wet and dry because you have to follow solid waste management rules, but at the same time you also have to look at separating the plastic waste from the other waste stream. And then all institution waste generators shall segregate and store in accordance with municipal solid waste management rules. So, institution also has to do that. All waste generators shall pay a user fee. So, if you compare this with the waste management rules of 2016 and the plastic waste management rules, pretty much it is in the same letter and spirit. The only thing is that here the little bit more focus is being given in terms of managing the plastic waste separately as far as possible. So, if you can take the plastic waste away from the other waste stream. Now, some responsibilities have been highlighted in these small bubbles here, is step by step. Now, what the producers have to do, what the producers, importers and brand owners has to do. This is responsibility of producers, importers and brand owners as per rule 9. So, if you are looking at the solid waste plastic waste management rules, look at the rule number 9. So, that is as per rule number 9. So, producer what they have to do, within 6 months from the date of publication of rules, they have to work out waste collection system based EPR. Now, what is this EPR? EPR stands for extended producer responsibility. So, if I can write it here, it is extended producer responsibility. Now, what does this actually mean? It means that as the producer of plastic packaging, or you are using plastic as part of your product, either as a package or as a container, as the company, the producer is responsible for managing that plastic waste all the way to its final treatment and disposal. That is the extended producer responsibility. So, if you think just from an English point of view, their responsibility is being extended and extended all the way to disposal. Say if I am producing for example, say if certain company X is producing a product Y, which is in a container of plastic. Now, once the Y product has been consumed, that plastic container needs to be disposed or recycled. So, for that the company which produced the product, produced that Y product, is also responsible. So, that is the extended producer responsibility. So, that is it was said that within 3 years or within 6 months of the date of publication of rules. So, although a lot of I think more than nearly 2 years will be passed in few months from now. So, that is the I do not know how much of these have been implemented, but within 6 months I do not think much of it is implemented yet. Within 6 months of the date of publication, they have to work out waste collection system based on EPR. Then it also says within 3 months shall apply for state pollution control board for registration. So, this is easy part. Within 3 months you can apply for pollution control board registration. After expiry of 6 months of publication of rules, shall not use any plastic or multi-layered packaging. But is it really happening on ground? Based on what you and I have been seeing at different places. Just a couple of weeks back, I was traveling through Kolkata airport, and few days before my travel, I saw a newspaper article suggesting that Kolkata is now plastic free. Kolkata airport is plastic free. And I went there when I was looking at different food items and other things that are being sold. It was a lot of stuff were still packaged in plastic. So, I asked this gentleman, what does this mean, that a newspaper report, the vendor who was selling it, I asked him that newspaper report says that this airport is plastic free, but you are selling product which is wrapped is still in plastic. And he said he was not aware of the newspaper report for the first time for our sake of argument, and then that's what he said, that he is not aware of any newspaper report. And he said yes, there has been some push at the airport to make it less plastic as possible, but since this material comes in package of plastic anyway, so how can we take it out and sell it just the like a non-sealed materials? Nobody will buy that. And that's a very fair, very good, that's a very fair argument, and very true argument, that since if it will not packaged, like you and I will not buy it, because what is the guarantee that it is fresh? What is the guarantee that it is not duplicate or fake product? So that's the so we have a lot of challenges in there. So that's why when the rules are implemented, so kind of for those of you who have listened to me earlier in my solid waste class, you will probably get the same argument here as well. I am sorry for that, but it is the same scenario. So in solid waste rules also we say something similar, in e-waste rule also we say something similar. But the problem that I have is, you tell them that within 6 months you do this, within 3 months you do this, but where is the infrastructure? Where is the infrastructure to really implement the rule? They will do an EPR, for example, Pepsi or this different companies which are producing different food products. Their specialty is food products, their specialty is not waste management. I don't know why we get always confused that everybody can do everything. Not every people should be allowed to do things in which they have certain expertise, they have certain credentials. So thinking that Pepsi will set up something to manage all their plastic waste, Pepsi should partner with someone who is specialized in that area, and that partnership needs to be facilitated, as I have said earlier too in other courses and other videos, that in you have to, the government agencies has to do some sort of facilitation, and that's wherever this EPR concept has really kicked off. EPR concept is nothing new, it has been tried and tested in different countries around the world, especially European countries in North America and other places. They are doing it, but they are facing a lot of challenges in implementing this, although their conditions is slightly better than our condition. But at the same time, wherever I have seen it working effectively is where the government has come in and tried to put all the stakeholders on board, and government just watches the whole thing being taken up, but make sure that it does happen. So in terms of EPR, for example, what I first hand experienced from the Canadian perspective was that the companies whichever is selling products, they just a very small fraction of the money revenue that they generate goes to this what is known as a stewardship program. So Ontario stewardship program for say plastic or for electronic waste or for different types of waste. So it just goes into that program, and then different vendors who are specialized in waste management, they use that money and do the managing of the waste. So they don't have to, people don't have to go and do things which they are not expertise to do, and they will probably do a lousy job in that anyway. And so that's and the people who are expert comes in and do the things, but of course it needs money, and the money comes from the companies who are making those products. So that kind of and that all the things is being facilitated by a few people from the government who is overseeing the whole program, making sure things get done, keep a tab on all the different stakeholders involved, and report the progress to the government agencies. So that model showed promise, that model showed some sort of things to happen. So what I am trying to say is we need to really work on getting the infrastructure built up. Otherwise, to tell them that within 3 months you do that, okay, probably will go ahead and do it, but work out the waste collection system based EPR. They are not a waste collection, all the companies are not really experts. So different companies needs to come together, they hire a consultant or a waste management company which can do for them, and the government really need to make this facilitation so that it does happen. Otherwise, everybody was just trying to do something on their own, and not really, the rules will not really get implemented. And then after expiry of 6 months of publication of rules, should not use any plastic or multi-layered packaging. Great, but what is the alternative? Do we have alternative? Certain materials which requires to be like I would say you cannot expose it to air, to the moisture. For example, think about sugar. Very simple. Sugar, each one of us uses it. So maybe someone less, someone more, but each one of us use sugar. So can you, these days most of the sugar, when you go to buy sugar from a market, it will be packaged in a plastic. Even the dals and other things are also packaged in plastic. But the reason I am asking talking about sugar is sugar with little bit of moisture, hot and humid condition with sugar, you see how that texture and the whole things changes. If you put it in a jute bag or a cloth bag just by itself, many of things will stick on the cloth bag. And then if you have, if it's a hot day, little bit of humidity, you will see the sugar is getting really bad. It starts looking bad. So consistency goes away, the grains starts getting together, and then if some companies wants to keep sugar that way, you and I will probably not try to buy it, will try to buy it from someone else which has some other way of packaging sugar. So the alternatives has to be there. We can ban plastic, we can say we will not use plastic, but we have to first also invest money to do research and to come up with products which can potentially replace plastic for all of its uses. So that's where the focus needs to be. Just banning something and saying that okay, will not. So there are many products which needs to be kept moisture proof, needs to be airtight, and for those products you need this kind of packaging material, unfortunately. And you cannot say that okay, after 6 months you will not use that, but so what I will do, like after 6 months, where is the alternative? Is it too costly? What will happen to my business? So how I will store my product? How I will sell to my customer? So there are a lot of questions that needs to be answered before we kind of put these dates, which is most of the time is unrealistic dates. And what happens is, since this is unrealistic, after 6 months, people will think, oh, we didn't do anything in 6 months, so why should we do anything anymore? And so we should also put these dates to be a bit practical, not just like I would say it's more becomes a theoretical exercise rather than practical challenges are lost. So you have to keep those into consideration before you make any of those date recommendations. So I think and then producers, one more we missed this part, that producer, importers and brand owners is responsible to collect back sachets or pouches, and plan of collection to be submitted to a state pollution control board. This is again I don't know how this it's going to get done, because it sounds great, but if you think from a practical point of view, is it really possible to do that? Say I buy a sachet of shampoo from a shop, then I travel for 200 kilometers, I take my shower there, and then I just dump it in the trash can over there. Now, where my company there will be a company person tracking all those sachets from different places. So what is ideally what it should happen is, government should set up a system, because waste is right now controlled by the municipal government, which is essentially part of a state government, or you can say state, and then above state is the central government. So we have the central government, we have the state government, we have a city rules, municipalities, Nagar Palika, Nagar Panchayat, and different. So mostly waste is managed at ULB level, urban local body, Nagar Panchayat, Nagar Palika, Nagar Parishad, those levels where the waste is being managed. So as based on again I will say based on the amount of sell that these different companies have for these different sachets and pouches, ask them to pay just a penny, just 1 paisa or 2 paisa, or whatever is relevant amount to this ULB budget, and then the ULB as a part of their waste management system should have this as one of the contract items, one of the tender items when they go out for tendering of waste collection system. So, that is how it should be probably, because you have to look at it in a comprehensive way. For example, these producers, importers and brand owners, they go around, they even collect all these pouches. What they will do with that? They do not have a treatment system. They do not have a disposal system. They do not own a treatment system. They won't own a disposal system. And for the volume that they will collect of these pouches and sachets for a one particular, say, city area, because if you are going around and trying to collect just these pouches and sachets, you are probably will end up harming the environment more by the fuel that you will consume in your diesel truck or your diesel vehicle or a petrol vehicle, whatever vehicle you use. So, why it should be collected? Since there is a collection system in place, yes, our system may not be working very effectively, that's understood, but why to create another system which we know is not going to work effectively? Why do not we improve upon the existing system, which at least has something, there is some structure is there, some backbone is there. Let us add some meat to this backbone and make it a more robust system, bring some money here. So, this could be done by getting this again part of the funding coming from these producers, importers and brand owners, and then the city waste management or the existing waste management plan should include that, rather than having a separate stuff and rather than throwing this entire responsibility on the private sector. Private sector, whatever is they are specialized is, they are working on that area. In waste management sector, we have to have a public private partnership. We cannot just leave everything to the private sector, and that is not it, because waste management, most of the stuff does not really make money, at least in the short term. So, you have to, the government, you have to finance it through the revenue from the private, because as through this some charges for the amount based on their sales, and then of course, the taxes that the government collects, that also needs to go, and there has to be a user disposal fee. So, as a consumer, we have to pay some user disposal fee as well. Everywhere in the world they do. So, we have to do everywhere in the world where the waste management is really working effectively, they do have a waste management fee for every household. So, there have been some issues like what highlighted by me in terms of plastic waste management rules, and then there are some more issues which has being brought into action by some of the experts in this area. So, according to Mr. Haren Sangvi, this is again part of a newspaper report, as part of the Vice President voiced of All India Plastic Manufacturing Association, two basic type of ambiguities are there in terms of, so there was missing clarification or registration aspect of the company and misguiding EPR policy. So, which kind of we touched upon that in our discussion. So, he talks about on the former issues, already the phase of registration is over. So, it was supposed to be done within 3 months since the Gazette publication day, and the local authorities have still not specified registration criteria. So, although the Gazette said 3 months, but the local government has not even come up with the criteria for registration within 3 months. So, how then is possible? So, that's become really like we can laugh on it. I feel actually sometimes I feel really sorry about the state of affairs. We can laugh on it, but it's a very serious problem. Like who came up with this 3-month idea? Maybe that person is not at all aware of the practical situation of the country. He or she is just sitting in an AC room and writing this fancy regulations, but they are not really aware of what is really happening on ground. Because you see the example right here, the Gazette came and within 3 months registration was supposed to be over as per the Gazette, but the local authorities have still not even specified the registration criteria. So what does that mean? We don't know what's going to happen now. Like whether I don't know whether each of the local government has finished that exercise even on today. So that's one issue. While on the EPR, he mentions, Mr. Sangvi mentions that manufacturers, producers, importers jointly seek for clear guidelines on EPR responsibility and clarification on key matters like what is the expectation from the industry and in what capacity, confusion in pricing and marking of bag, applicability of cling films, etc. So, that is there, because they are just saying that EPR, okay, within EPR what will be the roles and responsibilities of the different stakeholders, how will they get together, because since they, again we have to really realize that if the manufacturers are good in manufacturers, let them do the manufacturing. Waste management companies are good in waste management stuff, at least they are trying in waste management stuff. We may not be doing very great in the country as of today, but there are some pockets of excellence. We should always look to them as well. There are some municipalities, some parts of the country, they are really, they are trying their best, they are doing some of the stuff they are doing is kind of world class as well. I can say that based on myself being seeing waste management facility in several countries, like 12, 13 countries definitely. So, I can say that there are some initiatives which are very, very good. So, we need to learn from those initiatives and try to replicate it in the other parts of the country. So, that is what and we need to come up with some clarification in terms of the rules, so that people who really want to obey the rule, follow the rule, should be able to do that. Further, there are some other configurations that certain conditions like clear standard, specification of maximum decomposition time allow for composting. Final basic problem is how these waste management rules are implemented. So, how these rules will be implemented, as they are not in line with the rules and laws and regulation and certain norms which have to be followed, leading the new rules to be unrealistically implemented. This is what I have been trying to tell you in the previous when we were discussing things from the previous slide. So, we have to be realistic. That is one bigger problem in general in the waste management sector in India right now, or many developing countries, is we become too much idealist. We think that everything we need to get done in 2 days. That does not happen. These kind of things do take time, and you have to give it a time. In Hindi, I hope that many of you understand Hindi. In Hindi, there is a, like we say, that jaldi karna hai, jaldbazi nahi karna hai. There is a big difference there. Like we have to do it quickly, but not in haste. So, we need to do like anything, do not procrastinate, but do as per pace. So, jaldi kijiye, jaldbazi mat kijiye, because when you go for jaldbazi, when you go for haste, actually problem gets more complicated, problem gets more worse, and you end up taking decisions which are actually could be more harmful to environment than what you started with. So, and then so again continuing with that, manufacturer and use of non-recyclable must be phased out in 2 years, and again we are close to 2 years. I do not know whether we will be able to phase them out, because again we need material which can replace them. Once we have that, it will get replaced, because nobody wants to harm the environment if they do not have to, especially if the profit does not go down too much and the cost does not go up too much. So, that is how it will. So, we have to come up with a material which can replace plastic and can do most of the function that plastic does. Again, I think I have said that earlier in some video as well. One thing we have to realize, plastic is not a problem, plastic waste is a problem. It is not that plastic that we need to really like if we can manage all the plastic waste. Plastic is a wonderful material as such. The problem comes when we do not manage the plastic waste properly. That is where the issue is. Of course, there are some plastic which is very difficult to manage, especially those microplastics and other stuff which goes into the water, our affluent treatment plant and all that microplastics. They are difficult to manage. So, yes, so certain small sizes, maybe we do not need to use them anymore, because they are more nuisance in the environment, but the bigger size particles, bigger like anything more than 50 microns, it is more, I would say, it is the plastic waste which is a problem rather than plastic being a problem. Producers should also maintain a record of raw material suppliers. So, that is fine, they must be doing it anyway. So, in continuing with that, that particular discussion from a sustainability outlook magazine, it says that new rules are revised and broader in scope than 2011 rules, in which some are listed above, which certain new initiative like phasing out of multi-layer plastics in 2 years, a strengthening and monitoring of making the local authorities accountable, those are there. Promoting the idea of promoting energy recovery, waste to oil or use of plastic waste for roads construction as per Indian Road Congress. guideline for better utilization of waste has been brought up, at least these new rules which were absent in the previous rules. But the fact is, which is a very important kind of document again from Mr. Harish, we talked about, just a second, we talked about him in a minute. Mr. Haren Sangvi here again he makes a statement talking about that, but the fact is, are these professors' statement being implemented as well? Sadly, the reality suggests that certain ambiguities still remain. So, we have to, and these ambiguities will go as we work on it. Thing is that once this rule comes in, all the different stakeholders has to come together on a table and discuss that rule threadbare, come up with the implementation plan. An implementation plan should include the regulator and also the people who are being regulated, because we have to get the practical aspect of that. If the companies are saying that whatever you are suggesting cannot be regulated within the time frame that you are suggesting, we have to take their view, because if you try to come up with an unrealistic plan, that plan is bound to fail. So, and of course, we need to understand why that limitations are being highlighted from these companies, and are they really the limitations, or are they just coming up with some excuse? Those things can be figured out. Those that much capability we have that we can figure those things out, but we need to take all the stakeholders on board. Then only you can implement this policy and get rid of certain ambiguities, which becomes a big problem in implementing any rules. And whatever we have been discussing right now is kind of true for every rule. Doesn't matter which rule we talked about. Implementation is always a challenge. So, we will look at this slide and then we will stop for this particular video. So, in terms of role of key stakeholders as per Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016, there is e-producer has a responsibility to our waste based collection of EPR, which we talked about. This is kind of summary of all the stuff we discussed today and slightly from the previous week as well. So, responsibility towards waste collection through EPR, establish a system for collecting back the plastic waste generated, obtain registration from the State Pollution Control Board, sell to registered preprocessor, and phasing out multi-layered plastic. Now, retailer, only registered shopkeepers, street vendors will be eligible to provide plastic packaging. So, you have to register. Plastic bag or multi-layer packaging which are not labeled will be liable to fine. They will registered shopkeepers or street vendors to pay plastic waste management fee of minimum 48,000, that is rupees 4,000 per month to local body. This is becoming, I think this is a bit too high for, especially for street vendors, like 4,000 a month for a street vendor. That's kind of like it's pretty high. So, I don't know what they mean by, I have to check, but there is some, again some ambiguity is there. So, suppose a small jalebi shop or jalebi samosa pakoda shops owner is there in a small, like what we call a thela, small he has stuff on the side of a road. He comes in the evening, every evening he stays there for 2-3 hours and sells his stuffs and maybe make a profit of 400-500, or that is maybe too high, maybe 200 to 300 a month, 300 to 300 per day. So, even if you say 250 rupees per day, so for his monthly salary comes down to be around 7,500, and out of that if he has to give 4,000 for his plastic packaging, that is too much of a money, but I hope they are not included in here. So, that kind of ambiguities needs to be resolved, like who is included, who is not included, and then the question will be, if they are not included, then are they allowed to do that plastic waste, what will happen to the plastic waste that they generate, who will manage that. So, those things needs to be worked out in terms of details. Now, generators include institutional, event organizers, list to minimize, no litter plastic waste, segregate waste, pay user fee, and those things are there. Rural local bodies, setting up infrastructure for segregation, create awareness, seek assistance of producers, setting up plastic waste management. So, these are role of different stakeholders. Some are good, some are practical, many of them are impractical, needs revision. Probably as we work on it, it will get revised from in the coming years, and then we will probably have a better rule in terms of which can be really implemented. So, with that, let us stop here for this particular video, And I think we have covered pretty much for the plastic waste management rules. We have some small points still left, which we'll take care of in the next video, and then we'll proceed to global rules. In video 4 and 5 we'll focus mostly on global rules and how they compare with the Indian rules. So thank you, and keep watching, keep your questions coming on in the discussion forum. Any issues, let me know. Thank you, and through the discussion forum. Thank you.